Hello and welcome to another episode of Father and Joe. I am Joe Rockey here with Father Boniface. And Father, we broke off in the last episode discussing about how we can feel when we're doing things right and virtuously. And we've brought up over the last couple of episodes different ways of going about and helping ourselves get to that state. And at the end of the day, a lot of it came back to our motivations, how we treat ourselves, and essentially how we go about reflecting upon our inner being. And I wanted to dive into that a little bit deeper because we all have these natural processes that make us want to open up to certain people, but not others. In fact, there's some people in this world, I don't want them to know anything about me. Scammers who steal your identity. Like, you don't want them to know anything about you because then you're going to have a giant problem in your hand to get your credit life back together. But then there's some people you just share everything to with instinctually. Normally called your best friends. You just tell them anything. You don't expect anything in return. You have communications. And we all have this process of the in-between of filtering someone to essentially go, all right, I'm willing to share this much with you, but not all of me. I'll share this part of you, but not all of me. And I wanted to dive into that component of life because we all have it. It's human nature. But it goes right in line with that conversation of what are our motivations and are they pure in trying to get to the element of perfecting love? And there's a lot of different ways to describe the mechanism I'm calling friend selection, opening up information in a business context. When do I trust someone enough to let them into my world? And inherently, since they're relationships, they're two-way streets, which means, unfortunately, this does not have a one-size-fits-all answer. But I think that talking about the process of how we should both approach other people to, if we do want to enter in their life with a state of pure love, knowing we might not get to the spot where they're completely open with us, and how we accept essentially that rejection. And also, how do we be easier for people to come into our space so that we can give them perfection of love in return?
Yeah, the question is basically, how do you grow in trust, mutual trust with someone?
If that's the simple way of saying it, yes, that is the question.
Yeah. Well, trust grows through fidelity and truth. When I say what I mean and I mean what I say, when my actions bear out my words and my words express my actions, when I make promises and fulfill them, all of those things establish integrity and trustworthiness. And so when you share something delicate with me and I handle it well, then I gain more trust. And if I fail, but I come back and apologize and repair, you can discern whether that is believable enough to enter into trust with me again. And we grow together. So all of those elements of trustworthiness, and then that's going to be mutual in the sense that I'm also entrusting something to you uh, when it's appropriate. If I'm vulnerable with you, that's going to help you be vulnerable with me. And in the case of relationships like I'm often in spiritual direction, it wouldn't be appropriate for me as the spiritual director to start bearing my heart to my directee, but there's a different kind of vulnerability in the receptivity, the way that I allow you to move me, the way that I take you into my heart, the way that I make room in my life, my feeling, my thought, the way that I give you attention, the way that I focus on you and am really open to what you're sharing. All of that is a different kind of vulnerability, a vulnerability and receptivity. I'm exposing my wax, my heart like warm wax to allow you to make an impression on me. And I'm going to trust the directions that you take me with what you share. And then we live that out in those are kind of talk ways that those things grow, but showing up for somebody and being faithful, working side by side, being in the trenches, uh, sharing responsibility with people and sharing in hard experiences with people. These are all things to uh, grow in our trust with each other, and uh, and then trust gets tested and trust gets proven and trust goes deeper, and uh, so anyway, it's the basic dynamic of all of that.
So, in a sense, you basically said try it as part of your answer there. So as we trust that is a big part of it. And I love your starting point of you actually have to do what you say. You have to have the fidelity in that area, and that's fidelity. I guess is a word that doesn't normally get thought of outside of marriage. At least as you say this here, I don't think I've ever really thought it outside of marriage, and which makes me think that I might not understand the full grasp of what you're trying to say with fidelity. Because in my mind, that was you only stay with your wife. You don't have interactions with others. Is there more to it than that?
Well, fidelity is the word for faithfulness, so being
Oh,
faithful. So it's just not being with others is a matter of exclusivity. But yeah, being having, well, fidelity mutual insurance, right? There's we talk about faithfulness. When you invest yourself in me, I won't let you down. When I
mhm.
say I'm going to show up for you, I don't let you down. That's fidelity. It's faithfulness. So trustworthiness, trust is related to faithfulness. I like Pope Francis during the Year of Mercy drew out two different Hebrew words for mercy. In Hebrew, the word chesed is one, and rachamim is another. Rachamim is the kind of mercy which is womb like a mother's womb, tender and safe, secure. It provides a soft landing place for the wounded or fragile or sensitive parts of us. It's the kind of mercy that the Good Samaritan gives to the robber's victim. Chesed is also a kind of mercy, but it's the kind of mercy that's also faithfulness. And so Pope Francis talked about this as a more masculine or more feminine kind of mercy. Rachamim, obviously womb-like, has a kind of feminine quality to it, but Chesed has a kind of masculine quality. I promise I will show up. I will not let you down. I will not break my covenant with you. I will not cheat you. I will not manipulate you. That level of integrity and fidelity is part of chesed, mercy, love, and is foundational for trust, building trust. Uh, Another kind of pair that you can put together related to this is that trust goes with truth.
Mhm.
So Jesus is truth. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And we could say Mary is trust. So she trusts and receives that. Of course, Jesus is trustworthy and faithful. So those are all different qualities of that obviously can be very challenging when they're really put to the test. It's one thing to say, I'll always be there for you. It's another thing when that requires you to choose between whatever 50-yard line seats at the Super Bowl and your wife who is has a headache and is having a hard day. And you say, well, come on. I mean, like, get over it. This is 50-yard line seats at the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. So what are you going to do about that? And, that's there's lots of examples like that. I mean, and then obviously you can get into places of immorality. It's like so easy just to skim $100 off the top when you're in $1 million deal. How much
Mhm.
does that $100 difference? How much difference does that $100 make? Or um, I'm going to tell you one thing. Oh, my costs are $2,500 for this particular service. Well, actually, it's $2,100, but I'm going to tell you $2,500 because that's going to work the deal, and I'm going to get more out of it. But I'm not really being honest, and I know I'm not being honest, and I'm not treating you like I would want you to treat me. And those are the places where the rubber hits the road, and we are challenged to have a higher integrity, a higher fidelity, not to cut corners, not to manipulate, to actually show up for people. And those are concrete expressions of love, move us towards the perfection of love.
And well, looking at just that example, just zoning in my world a little bit of just pricing, there's no such thing as the price of anything. It's literally, you can make it up for virtually every product, and there's economic theories behind what the ideal price should be, and sometimes you're there and sometimes you're not. So I put that down as a digression, is that there is no absolute. Now, if you have a contract and you're only supposed to get paid this much, and that's what was agreed upon, that's there. But I bring this up because of a lot of different reasons. Like using your Super Bowl example there's more than always just one relationship at play. There's also the person that you're going to the Super Bowl with, and the expectations in which they had with you for being there. Like it took a lot for me to get these tickets for you to be with me. What's going on? And so it's you're in that circumstances in direct conflict of two different people. And how do we balance out the answer? I guess is one of the questions of life that we all have to go through. But when the goal is to be able to love everyone perfectly, when there is conflict, basically meaning the one person wants me to come to the Super Bowl and the other one doesn't, that's a direct conflict. How do we go about in being perfect in love for everyone? I guess in some ways I might be asking a question, how do we love like Jesus in this question? But it is part of our everyday life.
Yeah, well, that is the question. How do we love like Jesus? What would Jesus do? Yeah, and usually matters of love are also judgment calls and a matter of discernment. Things of justice, obviously there's a moral law. It's not immoral to go to the Super Bowl. It's not immoral to stay home from it. So we can't judge based on that black and white perspective. And beyond that, we build on those relationships. Probably your relationship with your wife is going to have precedence over some of those other relationships. It's also interesting to explore matters of the heart, like, am I willing to give away my ticket to somebody else and see if somebody else could take my place? Or do I not really want to do that because I really want to go to the Super Bowl and I really don't want to stay home with my wife because she has a headache? Those are ways that we have to be honest with ourselves. And again, there's not any shame in that. I mean, it is what it is, but at least being honest about it helps us to see what we're working with to get started with those things.
Yeah. So this is, I guess, the culmination of a couple of months worth of conversations, because this in there is being gentle with yourself, having hope that you'll be able to come up with the right answer. But when we're talking about the little hopes, that even if you are making a decision that the other side that you inherently did not choose with doesn't cause a deterioration in the relationship, and that how you can go through and walk through all of this is intertwined. And one of the cores behind all of it here is your actions and your motivations and how we go in and search those. And I think that, Father, you've done a really great job of teaching us how to go about that. And the root of all of this is, if you don't know the answer, it's okay. Talk to Jesus, who was the perfection in love, through prayer, and it will get better. And I think that is sometimes the simplest answer seems too simple, and we start to overthink it. But it works. It is the answer. and do it. It might not give you instantly the answer you want this second, but it will come to you and you will be able to solve it. So we thank all of you for being with us here today, and we will be with you again next week.